and last installment of Brews and Clues. And today I'm going to show the final projects that I've done. This podcast was done as a part of my critical design that I did for school. And I think I have to explain for Matthias and Jonathan what critical design is, which is design which is not supposed to actually be a solution, but more as a way of criticize how the society is now, or something that you feel you want to promote or show in a different light. So, sort of what Matthias doing with journalism, almost. So, unfortunately, Kevin couldn't be here today, so it's only Matthias and Jonathan and me. But I think we will manage. So I actually think I will start showing the video. So if you guys look at the screen, I will show it for you. Are you tired of home offices where you sit alone the whole day working and you never meet your colleagues in real life? Now you can go a whole day without even talking to somebody, and going to the kitchen to make a hot cup of coffee just doesn't feel the same when you don't bump into your colleagues. Do you remember the fun and engaging conversations you used to have around the coffee machine with your colleagues? Don't you just miss that?
Hello, my name is Phil T. Rich and I'm happy to introduce the new Kitchen Pal by Bufo. In a world where more and more people are working at home, at a home office, and don't have any colleagues around them anymore, and miss the social contact, we have the perfect products for you. Our advanced AI system are simulating co-workers, so you could work at home and still have somebody to talk to. And with this, I'm happy to introduce Pamela, the sassy water boiler. She will inform you about all the new celebrity gossip, and also she will talk bad about the other products at the kitchen. And in this way, she will create the office drama that we all know and of course love.
Oh my god. Have you seen Dominique, the coffee maker? Just imagine having a coffee kettle that ugly, like 2008 cold, and they want their glassware back. Jesus.
And as part of Kitchen Pal's new AI kitchen, Dominique will step in as the kitchen clown, where he always has a joke saved up and ready to go. So while you are brewing your delicious coffee, he will tell you a funny joke.
Hey, I saw you yawn. You know that is just a silent scream for coffee? Maybe you should brew some. And while you wait for your freshly brewed coffee, I have a joke for you. Why did the hipster burn his tongue? He drank coffee before it was cool.
And of course, we can't forget about Sheldon, the nerdy toaster oven. He knows everything that's worth knowing, and he loves to talk about his Dungeons and Dragons alignment.
Personally, I play a level 45 paladin, so of course I have to protect the weak and bring justice to unjust. What would the dwarf village in Azul be without me? I once had a level 47 warlock try to take over the city, and then I had to fight back, but due to my magic potions...
Holy guacamole! Can you just shut the fridge up? I'm just about to short circuit myself here. Nobody cares about your nerdy ass shit.
Okay, I can shut up.
So, as you can see, they can even evolve the bond between each other without you present. So if you are tired of sitting alone at a home office and have nobody to talk to, call the number at screen right now, and I will make an extra good deal for you. Instead of paying $1.99, I will slice the deal in half, and you can only pay $9.99, and that's for all 3 units. Call the number on screen right now.
The products need to be updated or replaced frequently to be useful at all. The AI is designed to make the products obsolete within 2 years after the purchase. The estimated life expectancy of the products depends on if you are willing to buy upgrades for the products and how well the products like you and each other. The products are not covered by any warranty, and all errors will be looked at as user errors. The products will not be possible to repair, so expect to have to buy a new one when something breaks.
Okay. Well, if everything else goes to shit in your life, you could always try to get a job at TV shop, man. They would hire you instantly. Like the new Billy Mays, man. Like this new special offer, but wait, there's more.
Yeah, so that's the whole gimmick. Is like it's supposed to be an infomercial, which normally sells stuff that's you don't need, but they try to create a need for it, and they normally also sell products that's is bad at the beginning and like it's a trashy product. So and also the AI, I'm not sure if you heard it, but at the ending there, it goes really fast and saying all the negative stuff.
Yeah.
They do in American commercials for like medicine and stuff like that. They always have this really fast where they say all the possible by effects of the medicine. So it's sort of inspired by that.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah, like
I wasn't so sure what critical critical design was when you explained it, but
Yep.
now when I saw the example, I understood it. It's
it
really
kind
good.
of like reminds me of this idea. I think it was from The Simpsons, where they get like this fancy house or robot maid kind of thing, like that controls the heating and controls everything in the house, and you could like settings. You could like have the voice being your favorite actor or your favorite celebrity and whatnot with their
Yep.
personality as well. Do you think that maybe like we will get there in the future where you have like a coffee machine has the personality of a Dungeons and Dragons nerd or a sassy person? I don't know, like that would be kind of funny, interesting concept. I thought.
Yeah, I in some way they already try to make every products more personalized, where having like more humane voices and like with Siri, it also tells jokes and stuff like that. And they always try to make products more engaging, but maybe this is trying to take it the step too far, where it's not just a voice anymore, but it's also a person that also have personality and also can connect to the other personalities as well. It's so it's all based on the previous podcast that we had. The first one we talked about working from home. Like that was something we all agreed on, that most people in the future will probably work from home. So that's where like the home office part, and of course we saw that during Corona as well. And something that I found really interesting was um, the search for Antibac and sourdough went up like the same amount. So apparently people was stuck at home and then they Googled Antibac and then they also Googled sourdough, and people was starting to make a lot more stuff at the kitchen. So you had all this like sourdough making, and people got really into coffee and all this weird ass stuff at the kitchen.
That's so
That's
true.
also that's
When
also
I-
why.
Sourdough as well, crazy.
Yeah, when I was working this summer,
Yeah.
my team lead was lending out sourdough to the other developers who were working there full time because they wanted to start baking at home. And to make a sourdough, you need this already sourdough to make more.
Yeah.
Because you have to use it to make more of it. So she lent them sourdough.
Yeah, so I found it quite interesting that when you are stuck at home, you find new hobbies, and a lot of those hobbies was somehow connected to the kitchen.
Speaking of sourdough, that's actually ruined the relationships over Corona, like because it smells, and like some people. I saw on Facebook like people having like couples having fights over that.
Yeah, maybe I should made a sourdough starter instead, or that. Could
Yeah.
The breaker of relationships.
Yeah. What do you think about AI and products in the future, since you have a background in computer science, Jonathan?
I think we're getting more of it.
Yep.
It's more limited to what kind of sensor data you can use, what kind of data, for example, users put into their phones, etc., that you're able to reuse and make an AI learn from, or have an evolutionary algorithm that adapts to it, for example. And I think like every big business is like, we're using AI, we're so hip, and then they're not really using it that specifically as you would assume when you hear the word AI, but usually they have like this all out of the box AI from Google, Google. I forget the words.
Yeah.
Google Analytics.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that already is like it runs the AI on all your site data and give you like reports and stuff from that.
Yep.
So it's usually this or not so intricate part of the programs that's usually run by AI. But I think we're getting more of it. It's just
Do you think
I
it
don't
will
know.
be implemented in regular products as well, sort of like kitchen stuff? And
Yes, sort of. It depends a bit like because it's kind of hard to train AI to do something very specific unless you have very specific data for it.
yep,
So I mean, like for normal kitchen appliances, I would guess we would need. You can, for example, train an AI to expect when you make food, etc. And then, like if they're able to connect, like if you have a online or if you use a certain app for like writing a shopping list,
yep,
you can train an AI to expect what you're going to make, and then for perhaps preheat the oven to the set to a right degree for that
pizza
product
because it's Friday.
for the time they expect you to be home to make it.
Yeah.
So things like that is possible if you have the interconnection where the different apps are able to talk to each other, which means you get more data.
I saw for this I searched up like products that already had AI in it, and I was shocked how many stupid stuff that had AI. You could get a water faucet, like for getting water, with AI. So instead of just turning it on, you could just say pour water, and then it started pouring. And you could also say measure this and measure that, and they could do like calculations for you. So
Yeah.
it wasn't. I didn't understand why you needed that when you could just bend over and turn it on, and then that would be faster. And you also had the oven that used AI, and the problem was that it had a glitch, and it started heating at 200 degrees at the middle of the night for a lot of people. So that was like a fire hazard.
Yeah.
Imagine.
So the only AI part of those things are actually just the speech recognition.
Yep.
So the AI is the machine or understanding what you're saying and transferring into functions
Yep.
or function calls. Meaning, like if you want the lights to be turned on, it will call the function. It will know what function to call to turn the lights on. But like when you tell it to multiply something or do a math thing, it's only the speech recognition, which is AI, because you have or they have trained the AI to understand language or make sounds into words, basically.
Yep.
So they're not that smart.
No.
Which it would be smart. Like if it was AI that did the maths as well, it would be the phone just telling you the answer instead of you having to ask it, because the machine would know that you wanted to ask it.
Yep.
Or it would assume you would ask it at that time, something like that. So that's why you can, for example, have if you have a smart home for light and everything in your house, I think you could easily make, like if you have the sensors, sensor data into some sort of AI machine that learned on it, you could have the house turn on the different lights in the different rooms for specific times and
Yep.
adapt to you. But
Yeah. So learn from you.
yeah, so when everyone's like, we have AI, it's usually their speech recognition, which is like open source. So it's not that big.
Yep.
But also, like, I don't use Siri on my iPhone, for example, because I think it's it's sort of a step back, because instead of me having to press something and it happens immediately, you're like using time on talking and trying to get the machine to do it for you.
Yeah, I often find it easier to just do it by myself instead of using that.
So like the only appliances where I think or speech recognition AI is good is, for example, when you're driving a car, and you can just tell the car,
do this and
read my unread messages, compose email, something like that, play music.
I think the only AI that I often use is Shazam.
Yeah, that's a good AI.
Yeah,
but that's not really AI. That's more of an evolutionary algorithm.
Okay, yeah. So it's just looking for patterns, or
Yeah, it's trained to recognize songs.
Yep.
So,
but
so
the
you have
training
this.
is AI, isn't it?
No, AI is a computer or knowing to do something from itself, but Shazam is a trained AI, which is called an evolutionary algorithm.
Okay, yeah.
More of it.
But
I
what
guess
about you?
it's some sort of AI, but it's not completely AI because it's not taking a guess from a conscience.
Yeah.
It has been trained to know that that sound is from that song, for example, or these rhythms are the similar as in this song.
Yeah, but you could also whistle songs for it, and it knows it as well.
Yeah, it's the rhythm.
Yeah. What about you, Matthias? Do you use any AI? Like, do you use a Google Home or?
No, not really, or Alexa or anything like that. I just use Google or random search engines, really.
Yeah.
I mean, like AI can be so many different things. It also made me think, like, not only in the home, but also, like, for example, in fighting crime. I'm sure they could find algorithms or AIs that could be able to kind of tell when and where a crime will happen. This is already based on a mathematical. I think he won like the Nobel Prize in mathematics like 20 years ago, where he found out that made like an algorithm figuring out where it's most likely that a crime will happen. I think that AIs can probably do that even better.
Yeah.
And the same with like where is it most likely that someone will break their leg or get sick, like ambulances and fire trucks could use it as well.
Yeah.
To be more efficient.
Or you could use it as China do, where they have a surveillance of their people and give everyone like karma points almost.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. Just like that episode of what's that show called again?
The Black Mirror.
Black Mirror, yeah. It was like the Facebook is like a social construct system where if you post something positive about the government, you get karma points, but if you post something negative, you get minus points or you get killed. I don't know.
But something I'm interesting about hearing your opinion about, Matthias, is since you are a journalist student, what do you think about this type of showing belief or like promoting critique of the society? Normally you do it through paper, but
oh well, I think that there are many ways in which you can criticize society, whether that be through art or through writing. I think it's more about what sort of message you're trying to convey, right?
Yeah.
As a journalist, the main task of a good journalist, of course, is to figure out if there's any wrong in society that needs to be people need to hear about, or if there's any. It's kind of your job to like do the research for behalf of the society and not to promote a specific opinion, but rather to make the reader think for themselves. So it's quite complicated in that sense. Yeah. Because most journalists just try and write what the readers already want to hear, like an echo chamber sort of thing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like technology, so you mean in terms of technology?
So in terms of critical design, like the project I showed.
The critical, yes, yeah. So there's like commercial. Yeah, absolutely. I think that I like also how the way it was presented, like with a fake name and a kind of like a joke, but it kind of at the same time did get the message across better than many other films that try to do the same, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because humor is a very important tool when it comes to like conveying a message, I'd say.
But do you think something like this is too colored by my opinion, or do you think it still leaves a possibility for the people that sees it to make their own opinion about it?
Well, I think it's an interesting concept that should be. Again, it comes back to the point that the reader has to kind of decide for themselves, and they can decide for themselves by watching the promo video as well. I believe that you make your own choices, right? But I wouldn't like. Do you mean like? Are you asking like if I was editor of a paper, would I put that ad up in my newspaper? Is that what I mean? Like,
No, I didn't mean it like that, but that's actually a good question as well. Would you be critical to put this in your paper?
No, I would probably add it in because I think the humor means that it's not like out there yet, but it's more like toying with the idea of personalized. I think that's okay as long as you don't like.
But do you feel the newspaper have a responsibility to showcase good products? Like,
well, like back in the day, if you just go like 30 years back, there were tutorials at Dagbladet and VG on how to start up a computer and how to use Microsoft Word and how to use the telephone before that, even, or mobile phone. So I think that the press has always had a responsibility to sort of recommend and also test new products, and they're still doing that very much. Like,
yeah, I think for a lot of especially older generation, especially like tests of tech and stuff like that is how they know new products are on the market. Like my dad, the OnePlus phone is sort of have been a underground phone for people that was in the know, sort of. But my dad was like, "Oh, didn't you used to have a OnePlus phone?" And he was like, "Oh, we got a best in test, like a best in review." By Dagbladet, and then he was like, "Oh, that means it's a good phone." Before that, he was always so critical because it wasn't the iPhone and was a brand that nobody had heard about. But once he saw, "Oh, it's actually a good phone because Aftenposten told him," then it's like, "Oh, yeah, the newspaper said it's good, so then it has to be good."
Yeah, most of the people that review them as well are people, usually younger people, at least usually not older than like late 20s, that are like technological know-how. And I think that's also very interesting. That means that it's more like sound. Like, I wouldn't trust any movie review, but when it comes to the reviews of these technological digits, I feel like they do it in a very systematical way. They have like a checklist, and they have people who know what they're talking about reviewing it. So
yeah, I think for us, we are more believing YouTubers, and they are believing the newspapers. So I feel we are affected on the same way because we still have somebody that tells us this is good, this is bad, without us actually have tried it and know if it's good or bad. And we don't know if the YouTuber get any ad revenues or like get any kickback from the company or something.
yeah,
They have something other attention. Yeah.
I think YouTube is probably one of the best places for ads now, and Instagram, because there's so many users there.
Yeah, and especially if it's YouTube, not just the ad in front of the YouTube, but actually the YouTuber that you believe and trust in, that actually tells this is a good product, and it's like almost like a friend recommending it to you.
Yeah, it is. And I said that many of those YouTubers take their sponsorship seriously as well, and they kind of like intertwine it with their video content in kind of a funny way as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, some of them are quite good at making it humoristic. But
yeah, exactly. One of those traveler YouTubers who was recommending VPN so we wouldn't be caught by the Russian government and stuff like that. Like, just like it's a joke, but it's kind of like still intertwined to the fact that he's sponsored by NordVPN. And it's like,
I think that's fascinating. That it's, I think almost half of the ads I get is for VPN.
oh yeah, that
So
definitely
much.
tells something about. It could be something with Corona that more people have watched everything on Netflix in their country, and they just want to like.
Yeah. Is it actually safer to use a VPN? Because a lot of them
that's
have.
Another question, because I've heard many VPNs been tried and it doesn't work for what it's promised to work on. Like, because Netflix and many of those big streaming sites have cut off the opportunity to use the VPN to access, for example, American Netflix or UK Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh no, it still works, just not through your normal web browser.
Okay.
So if you, for example, download the Netflix app from Microsoft Store and you enable a VPN, you will still get the American Netflix, for example.
Do you use a VPN, Jonathan?
No. My girlfriend has one because she studies in England. Some of her courses or course material is for England only.
Okay.
And then she has to use the VPN to access them.
But do you think they are more secure than just using it?
Yeah, they are. It's not because it masks you as being in a different country, but it sends your web traffic a different route. So it's not untraceable, but by using enough VPNs or making the route difficult enough, it will be untraceable.
Yeah, but do they do that? Do you know that?
Usually, no. You only connect to one VPN server.
Yeah.
Because that's all that's required. Because when you activate a VPN and you try to, let's say, access Netflix, it will basically ask like a fake computer on the England server which you are connected to request the website, and then it will port forward it to you.
I am.
And that's how it is with all the data. So it's usually secure because the request is requested to that server, and then the server is manually sending it to you. While so like the traffic will say it only sent it inside of England, even though you also received it. But that also means that server sees everything you're getting.
Yeah. So if that servers get hacked or they are not good people, then yeah,
that can be bad. Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys was going to make a futuristic product, what would you make?
Futuristic product, so it has to be something that's not doesn't exist
It doesn't have to be. It can be just an improvement of something, Matthias.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be something that doesn't exist.
No, and
because that would be entrepreneurship, and that's more difficult because you sort of need an idea and tweak it.
And it could also be something that you want to criticize instead, not sort of what I did with my product. So a critical design instead of just design.
I would say probably something in like how it transport energy and stuff. I don't know, like it's this idea like how it's not really a product, it's more like we need to have a more common understanding of how the whole energy transferring system works. Like we all talk about the electric bikes and stuff being so great for the environment, but in fact it comes from coal burning in Germany, right? So that's the question like how people see the storage of energy. I think it's not like a product, but it's more like criticizing how the industry works today. All these massive like electrifications of oil fields that doesn't really help at all, and it's like
or
makes you
like
wonder why.
With the Teslas, that it just instead of burning coal, like burning it in the car, they burn the fuel in Germany or in England instead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good topic. You could make a electric bicycle that had a exhaust release from it, even though it doesn't make any combustion.
Yeah.
Just
so you can have like a bike that collects energy from you biking it, and then you can save up some electricity from that you can use in uphills. Like a self-sustaining L bike. That would be it.
Yeah. Or maybe you had to smoke a cigarette and then you could get the same effect as breathing bad air that you normally would get with a lot of petroleum cars.
Yeah, maybe like in Beijing and stuff. I think it's better to smoke than go walk outside.
Yeah.
Like, it's no joke. Like, I know a guy who met a guy once who is married to a Chinese girl in Beijing, and his daughter is 3 years old now, and she learned how to use a gas mask before learning how to tie her shoes. Like, it's
wow.
So air cleaning is definitely going to be a big thing many places in the world in the future to figure out how to do that. But
yeah. What about you, Jondon? What would you criticize or make an implement in?
I would probably like what I think I talked about in the first episode about how you should make a sensor or have this standard of sensors on cars, which allows them to talk with each other.
Yep.
To eliminate traffic. I probably would have done that.
Yep. So it's not a critique; it's just making life better for people.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's nice. But that's
and then again, I would probably throw a critique to that it doesn't exist yet.
Yep.
Because it doesn't have to be every single car. You just have to begin somewhere. Which means, let's say Mercedes added this sensor to all their new cars. And then, like, if the car has, let's say, like this blue light on the back, you know that car has the same system as you, which means you can lock onto that car.
Yep.
So in traffic, you could just lock onto the car in front of you.
It could also be a critique to the one company that didn't want to use the same solution as the others, if you understand.
It's
Sort of.
that's sort of how it is, but then again, you have like how it's Apple, iOS, and Android, which is the two leading
Yeah.
leading mobile operating systems, which again comes from Apple being a huge platform doing their own thing. Then again, like Google taking over Android and making that a huge thing. So they have these two standards, which is now like because people like both.
Yeah, and you also.
But
with
usually
Android-
you only end up with one of them.
Yeah, I mean with Android you have everyone is using USB-C, but
Yeah.
Apple doesn't want to use that because they want to use their own.
And that's because they have a big user base. But let's say, and that's more or less because they came at the same time. But if someone were like to tomorrow come out with like this new car system, especially from like this big car manufacturer, I think and as long as they keep like the system open sourced, or that they don't sell it for too much or whatever, they would like, and as long as it's really like secure and good and easy to implement, whatever, I think it would easily become the standard.
How does open source affect security?
Usually doesn't.
Because if everyone has the source code or how it works, isn't it easier to find a hole and then you could
Yes,
exploit
but
that?
that's also how open source gets fixed, and it's more secure because everyone can find mistakes and fix it for you.
Yeah, but if you, I don't know.
Yeah, when it comes to like servers and secure accounts and information, it's usually that system is not open source, but it's more like a program or thing is open sourced. So you don't know. So what you don't open source is exactly how you encrypt passwords, etc.
Yeah.
But that's something else.
Just like one key question what we were just talking about in terms of like new ideas, new products. How likely do you think that someone, for example, a phone producer or a social media platform, how likely do you think for a newcomer to actually achieve success in these days? When you, for example, have Facebook and Instagram having such a massive grip on the market. As for phones, we just talked about Apple and Samsung is kind of dominating it. Like, how do you think it's becoming increasingly impossible for new entrepreneurs to enter this market, or do you think they almost in all cases will be bought up by the big ones before they even get there?
And that's the thing you're saying. Are entrepreneurs able to enter the market? And the answer is yes, because the entrepreneur is trying to make something new.
And better, yeah, but I think that, like, for example, Apple and Samsung are too powerful for like a new mobile giant to enter the market. Do you think that, for example, Facebook and Instagram are too powerful for a new social media to enter the market? This one, like,
well, they're too big for and similar social networks. So if you try to make a new Facebook, it's probably going to fail because you won't get the same user base, and Facebook is sort of built up from their, like, the first people who ever got Facebook were everyone who were at Harvard, and then it extended, and since it got so popular at Harvard, other schools started hearing about it, but it was only when like the hype was really high they actually extended to those universities, and then when like all of US had it, the hype was spread to like Asia and Europe, and when the hype was really high, then they will extend there as well. While if you come with a new platform, you don't have the users, and because something else that works exists, people probably won't adapt it. which means you have to you have to find up something which accesses a different need in the users.
Yeah.
Which would have them rather want to be on that platform.
I think you have to make your own path, sort of.
Yeah.
You
You
can't just
have
walk.
to identify different type of need.
Yeah. Just
Oh, yeah.
just last week, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago, LG, the
Yeah.
huge company, they had to stop producing phones because they saw that they couldn't win because Apple and Samsung is too big.
Mm.
And I think if you just follows what everyone else do, like LG did, they made the same glass phone that everyone else made, then you will probably not survive. But
Yeah.
if you, I don't know, made a chip that you can implement into your head and that works better than a phone, then maybe that's the
Exactly.
new market. I don't know. So then you have a new product sort of that covers the same needs as a phone.
Yeah, and then again, if you're able to make something like that, you might actually earn more money on selling the patent to Apple.
Yeah.
Because there's a big...
Yeah, or you need some really big investors.
Yeah.
For example, like Donald Trump is making a new social media now, actually, in May or April is going to come out.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
of course, he already has like a very bad reputation, but think of like he
That's
also
only
has a lot-
because he got banned from Twitter.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, but I would say
finally
like he
then-
also has. This is someone with a lot of money, right? So it's been interesting to see how this will go. Of course, there's the factor that he's unpopular. Of course, it is. But I'm just saying, my question is not to say that there's not good entrepreneurs out there. I'm just asking in a more sinister way, like, are these companies so powerful that they would easily, basically, just be able to withstand any competition?
I don't think
newcomers?
Donald Trump has the right PR behind him to support to make.
No,
any-
I'm much more thinking about what I'm really asking is like, do you think that Google and Instagram will be there in like 40 years and still be the major social media? So do you think that like
Mm.
it's still possible for newcomers to come? Because I feel like those big companies have become so powerful in the recent years. Like,
Yeah, I think they will probably, because Instagram is owned by Facebook, so Facebook is really big.
Yep.
And
And
Facebook
Google
is actually quite
owns
good
YouTube.
at
Messenger.
Yeah, I think Facebook
Google is
sees
massive.
the problem that it will always come a new social media and new ways to engage with each other. So that's why they also have like Oculus is owned by Facebook.
Yeah, and Facebook is also developing the biggest JavaScript framework.
Yeah, so they branch out to sort of instead of put all their eggs in one basket, because they know that if they have only Facebook, then it's going to collapse. I think Facebook is probably going to be obsolete. I don't know, not that long until maybe 5 years or something. I am never checking Facebook wall anymore. I only use Messenger app.
Yeah, like
like Messenger
Facebook,
is gonna stay around for a long time, I think, but not maybe the Facebook though.
Yeah,
Messenger nice, and Facebook events is like Messenger and Facebook events is all I use.
Yeah.
If I browse Facebook, it's only because I'm bored and I need to look at trash, because that's only things that are posted on my wall is trash.
That's if I'm done with Instagram and done with YouTube, then I look at Facebook. And yeah, but they are quite smart because I think the biggest competitor is WhatsApp. It's not that big in Scandinavia, but in
It's
like
huge everywhere else.
Yeah, they are really, and they own that as well. So I think they are quite secure for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is in I think it's Japan. They have like similar to WhatsApp.
Yeah,
but they can
it
also
looks
use
the same, but it's different.
Yeah, but they can also use it to pay at the store, and it's also like a web shop, and you can do everything through it. I think it's Alibaba that has it, or like Alibaba Shutters, and I don't know.
No, it's something else. My brother had it while he lived in Japan.
Yeah, but that's quite nice. Like that's something we miss in Europe, is like a easy payment system.
Yeah,
now we have Vipps in Norway, and in Denmark they have mobile pay, and then they have something else. So they don't have one system for all of them. So I think soon something will find a better solution on that. So that's something you should make, Matthias, and be rich.
The
A
difficult
easy
part
transfer.
here is the banks who own these solutions, because got like how Vips got big because it was easy and it was the most adapted platform because it was launched at the same time as mobile pay in Norway.
Yeah,
But because
it
it
was really good
outgrew
before.
them, Vips, which was owned by DNB, sold out parts of its shares to different banks in Norway, such that every bank in Norway can own Vips together, so everyone can use and benefit from the platform.
Yeah.
And mobile pay was shut down in Norway.
Yeah, it doesn't exist in Norway anymore.
Yeah.
But in Denmark, they are the number one.
Yeah, and then
And
it's Venmo, I think they use in the States.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing.
But I know
And then
that
you have PayPal, for example, same thing.
I know that Vips and mobile pay are going to collab in Denmark, so you can use mobile pay with Vips and then vice versa.
Yep, I would assume so.
Yeah, so something that is
because they're they're gaining benefit from each other.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost that much to implement, probably.
Nah, probably a little bit, but not that much.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it anything more that you guys want to talk about?
I'm not sure.
About this topic?
Or just in general? For the podcast?
No, I think I get the main point earlier about big companies and the future of that. I don't think I have anything more to add on that. But...
Nope.
Oh yeah, what I forgot to say about the AI part earlier is that AI is AI if the AI doesn't know what the result is. It just knows it's the same.
So it needs to solve something.
Yeah, so if you, for example, try to make a food recognition app which recognize what kind of food you're taking pictures of, it will know that, let's say you take picture of a hot dog and then picture of spaghetti, and then you try to it will know the difference between them because it has been trained on millions of pictures of the hot dogs and spaghetti.
Yeah.
But it doesn't know that it is hot dog or it is spaghetti, but it knows it looks more like one of the test sets it has. That's sort of AI. While what I was talking about with reinforcement learning and evolutionary algorithms is that they adapt to knowing what it is.
Yeah.
It works sort of the same way, but still differently.
Yeah. I saw a TED talk about AI where I think it was they trained AI to recognize pillows or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the part that the AI recognized wasn't the pillow itself. It was the thumb that holded the pillow, because normally they just hold a pillow and then they recognized it.
Yeah.
So it just saw the thumb and then, oh, that's a pillow, even though it's not a pillow, it's a thumb.
That's a part of AI, is because you can't just give it images and train it on the images. You have to specify what parts of the images it's gonna focus on, or how it has to try to detect things in the image and then try to focus on those things when
This
it's
is
learning.
machine learning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But machine learning and AI sort of go hand in hand.
As part of AI?
Yeah, it's a part of it because it's basically the same. But AI is more, you're trying to get it to get this conscience where it knows how it already knows what to do. While machine learning is that you train a system to know something.
Okay. Yep. I see. Yeah.
Yeps.
But I think that's it for today. And thank you for participating. And that's it for our podcast. Bye bye.
Rest in peace.
Konnichiwa.